जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजरंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Om Akrantivirandasya Gyananjanashadakaya Chakkurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Veda Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatanvidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Raita Shri Shakahanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavaneshwate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, welcome devotees. Are you able to hear and see my screen? So today we are reading from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, chapter 12, entitled The Devotee. As mentioned above, a person in Krishna consciousness, being fully devoted to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, develops all the good qualities of the demigods. Uh, because demigods are also, in one sense, devotees, but they may not be pure devotees. So in order to encourage them to do more devotion, Lord is giving some managerial positions also. But if you are practicing pure devotional service, then you can surpass even the demigods in terms of the qualities. There are many such qualities, but Lord Chaitanya described only some of them to Sanatana Goswami. In other words, wherever you may be in these 14 planetary systems, if you take to devotional service, that to pure unalloyed devotional service, as taught by Lord Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, then you will attract everyone, including the demigods. Right now, we may be facing problems because they are created by the demigods or the planets, and all these influences are there. That means that we are not still practicing pure devotion. That doesn't mean that we stop pure devotion and just try to handle the astrological problems or the problems with the demigods. We have to continue with the devotion by tolerating these difficulties. Then gradually we'll be able to pacify all these forces. And these qualities will attract Krishna, and he will give us more devotion, and then we'll get more qualities that will attract more. This way it goes. A devotee of the Lord is always kind to everyone. So this now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going to list some of the qualities of devotees. Is always kind to everyone. He does not pick quarrels. His interest is in the essence of life, which is spiritual. Want to read? His interest is in the essence of life, which is spiritual. He is equal to everyone and can find no one can find fault in him. So, what is the greatest fault is lack of devotion. Once he takes to devotion, even though there may be some seeming faults, because he is continuing with his devotion, eventually we can see that the faults are coming down. His magnanimous mind is always fresh and clean, and he is without material possessions. He is a benefactor of all living entities and is peaceful and always surrendered to Krishna. He has no material desires. He is very humble and is fixed in his purpose. He is victorious over the six material qualities such as lust, anger, and he does not eat more than he needs. He is always sane and respectful to others, but he does not require respect for himself. He is grave, merciful, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. So these are the 26 qualities of the Vaishnava. We already discussed previously when we discovered Vaishnava etiquette, and it's there in the Srimad Bhagavatam and also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we just to repeat once: a devotee of the Lord is always kind to everyone. He does not pick quarrels. His interest is in the essence of life, which is spiritual. He is equal to everyone. No one can find fault in him. His magnanimous mind is always fresh and clean, and he is without material possessions. He is benefactor to all living entities, peaceful, always surrendered to Krishna. So that is the main quality, always surrendered to Krishna. Because of that, he will get all these other 26, 25 qualities. He has no material desires, he is very humble, he is fixed in his purpose, victorious over the six material qualities lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and pride. He does not eat more than he needs. There is a myth book. Always sane, respectful to others. He does not require respect for himself. Mani, Manada and Amani. And is grave, merciful, friendly, poetic, kavi, expert, daksha, silent, mauni. The silent means he doesn't mean he's silent. He doesn't talk unnecessarily.
All these qualities we can see in the recent between yesterday and today glorification of His Grace Panchajanti Prabhu is going on. So whenever anybody is coming to glorify Panchajanti Prabhu, they are also glorifying Jananivas Prabhuji because like whatever everybody is saying, these two twins are inseparable and one cannot talk about one without talking about the other. And this is one, like the qualities which are mentioned over here are being brought out very nicely for these two devotees, because they are running the DT department, like the DT dressing and all, which is uh, running into crores. And they said that there's absolutely no problem, absolutely well run, and at the same time, none of the subordinates or anybody who deals with them has any problem with any of them. Even people who are normally critical of everyone have no problem with them. So that we see it's practically possible to have these qualities. And it is only possible if one increases one's devotion.
So Prabhupada instituted this International Society for Krishna Consciousness because you may not find all these qualities in everyone. So, but we will find definitely these qualities in majority, in some slightly less. So unless we live in the society of devotees, all this theory we cannot see in practice. And so Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-21 also describes the person in Krishna consciousness, one who is devoted to the loving service of the Lord. There, the devotee is said to be always tolerant and merciful. Titikshava Karunika, like that it goes. Titiksha means tolerant, Karunika means merciful, Suhurda means friend to all living entities. There's no enemies, Ajata Shatrava, peaceful, Shanta, uh, and possess all good qualities. These are a few of the characteristics of a person in Krishna consciousness. So indirectly it is saying what is the benefit of becoming a devotee. Because we saw the six characteristics of pure devotionals is Kleshagni and Subhada. That is the destruction of miseries and development of all auspicious qualities.
It is also said in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 that if one gets the opportunity to serve a great soul, a Mahatma, his path to liberation is open. However, those who are attached to materialistic persons are on the path of darkness. Those who are actually holy are transcendentalists. They are equipoised, very peaceful, free from anger, and friendly to all living entities. Simply by associating with such holy men, one can become a Krishna conscious devotee of the Lord. Indeed, to develop love of Godhead, the association of great souls is needed. The path of advancement in spiritual life opens for anyone who comes in contact with such holy men, and by following their path, one is sure to develop Krishna consciousness in full devotional service.
So this paragraph is talking about the importance of association with devotees. Because in the Bhagavatam 5th canto, Sukadeva Goswami is telling to Parikshit about all the hellish destinations. Because our natural tendency is to commit sinful activities, even if we are seemingly doing some pious activity, eventually we take advantage of the pious activity and do some sin. So we the destination is mostly hellish. So what is the way out? Uh, the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, why is the one not able to control sinful activities as if he is engaged in sinful activities as if by force? Then Krishna says it is by lust, which is born of contact with Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So how to overcome these gunas? Only by associating with a devotee who is engaged in pure devotional service. So if one gets the opportunity to serve a great soul, who is known as a Mahatma, he is also a living entity, but he is known as Mahatma. His path is, if one we follow, his path to liberation is open. So on the contrary, if we become attached to materialistic person, which is the majority here, then we are on the path of darkness. We become more and more ignorant, and ignorance is bliss. We think we are happy. Those are actually holy or transcendental, they are equipoised. What is the benefit of taking the devotion? We become equipoised, peaceful, free from anger, friendly to all living entities. And so just we need to keep in the association of devotees. We may be not have very big qualifications. We may not be very advanced in devotion. We may be just be a beginner. But if we just maintain this association, we can rise up to love of God.
In the 11th canto, second chapter, text 30 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudev, the father of Krishna, asked Narad Muni about the welfare of all living entities. And in reply, Narad Muni quotes a passage from Maharaj Nimi's discussion with the nine Yogendras. O holy sages, King Nimi said, I am just trying to find the path of well being for all living entities. A moment of association with holy men is the most valuable thing in life, for that moment opens the path of advancement in spiritual life. This statement is confirmed elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. By associating with holy persons and discussing transcendental subject matters with them, one becomes convinced of the value of spiritual life. Very soon, hearing of Krishna becomes pleasing to the ear and begins to satisfy one's heart. After receiving such spiritual messages from holy persons or pure devotees, if one tries to apply them in his own life, one naturally and successively develops faith, attachment, and devotion while progressing on the path of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So in 11th canto, there's a discussion between Narada Muni and Vasudeva. That is at the time of the eclipse. All of the Brajavasis, Mathura, Dwaraka, all these people they came to Kurukshetra for the for pilgrimage, and at that time, uh, Vasudeva is inquiring from Narada Muni because he's in the Vatsalya Rasa. He doesn't know that Krishna is God, whereas Narada Muni knows that Krishna is God. So he's inquiring like an ordinary person about what is the greatest welfare of all living things. So then Narada Muni is quoting about a conversation between Maharaj and Nimi and the Navayogendras. Navayogendras are the sons of Rishabhadev. He had 100 sons, the Prachetas. Then we had this uh, Bharata is one of the king's sons. Then like that, these Navayogendras, they go and meet this king Nimi and he inquired from them, I'm trying to find the path of well-being for all living entities. That is the quality of Vaishnava. He's thinking about the welfare of all living entities, not only about himself. And a moment of association with the holy man is the most valuable thing in life. If you don't have anything, if you have just this one alone, uh, that is the most, you can get everything else. So that moment opens the path of advancement in spiritual life. So even in the Bhagavatam, third canto, where Lord Kapila is instructing Mother Devahuti, there it says, by associating with holy persons and discussing transcendental subject matters. When we associate with holy persons, what do we do? Of course, there are many ways to associate. By the main association is the discussing transcendental subject matters. Four types of association are very powerful. One is the taking the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnava, taking the foot water, Charnamrita, or taking the remnants, prasad remnants like Narada Muni took. And the most important thing is taking the instructions. Then one becomes convinced of the value of spiritual life. Right now, although spiritual life is the most important, we are not convinced. But when we are in the association of such devotees, we become convinced. Very soon, hearing of Krishna becomes pleasing to the ear and begins to satisfy one's heart. Right now, we are not interested in hearing about Krishna. It is not pleasing to the ear. It doesn't satisfy the heart. But once we associate with devotees, we understand the value of spiritual life. Then we start, uh, when we hear the same Krishna Katha, it becomes pleasing and satisfying. So here the point is one has to receive this knowledge from pure devotees. We also knew about Krishna even before coming to Krishna consciousness, but we were not convinced. If one tries to apply them in his own life, first you have to hear, you should be convinced, and then you have to practice it. Then one naturally and successfully develops faith. So the faith is the beginning, but it has to build gradually. Then attachment and devotion will by so faith, attachment, and devotion will uh, develop while progressing on the path of Krishna consciousness.
The Lord then informed Sanatan Goswami about the behavior of a devotee. The sum and substance of such behavior is that one should always stay aloof from one should always stay aloof from unholy association. And what is unholy association? It is association with one who is too much attached to women or one who is not a devotee of Lord Krishna. These are unholy persons. One is thus advised to associate with holy devotees of the Lord and carefully avoid the association of unholy non devotees. Pure devotees of Krishna are very careful to keep aloof from the two kinds of non devotees. The result of unholy association is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. There it is said that one should give up all association with a person who is a plaything for women, for by associating with such an unholy person, one becomes bereft of all good qualities, such as truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence, shyness, beauty, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, and all the opulences that are automatically obtained by a devotee. A person is never so degraded as when he associates with persons who are too much attracted to women.
Okay, so the next Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatana Goswami about the behavior of a devotee. Then sum and substance of such behavior is one should always stay aloof from unholy asat sangat tyaga ei Vaishnava achar. Asat means those who value the temporary. So that is the main. What is unholy association? It is association one who is too much attached to women. What is so bad about women? Now these womanly qualities are there in men also. Doesn't mean the women in the bodily sense. Women in the sense men, men and women. What it means? Uh, Purusha and Prakriti. So Chanchala, those who are Chanchala, fickle in nature. If you are attached to fickle-minded people, that fickle-minded person can be a man, it can be a woman. So that is not the criteria whether bodily man or woman. It means the mental attitude. So, or one who is not a devotee of Lord Krishna, who is not a devotee of Lord Krishna, even though impersonalists, Mayavadis, atheists, or even the so-called devotees. So, Krishna Bhakta, Krishna Abhakta, and Asatsanga. Uh, these are unholy persons. In other words, not beneficial. One is thus advised to associate with holy devotees of the Lord and carefully avoid the association of unholy non-devotees. These are the two kinds of non-devotees. That is one who is atheist or not a devotee, and other is the Sri Sangi. Sri Sangi means, as I said, associating with fickle-minded people. And one should give up all association with the person who is a plaything for women. So whatever the woman says, the man does. He is fully under control of the fickle-minded people. Uh, what is the one becomes bereft of all good qualities such as truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, intelligence, shyness, beauty, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, and all the opulences that are automatically obtained by a devotee. Whatever you get by devotion, you will gradually lose by this bad association. In the history of ISKCON, we have seen some devotees, they rose to very high positions, but due to some bad association, everything was lost. Man is never so degraded as when he associates persons who are too much attached to women. So, like sometimes we are too much attached to these WhatsApp messages, Facebook, internet, always seeing this. That's also bad association. And regarding remaining aloof from unholy persons, Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from the Kalyana Samhita. So there are Samhitas, Upanishads, all these different aspects of Vedic literature. One should rather tolerate the miseries of being locked in a cage filled with fire than associate with those who are not devotees of the Lord. Even if you are put in a cage with fire, that is better than, because at the most you may die. And but if you associate with these non-devotees, then not only your present life, your future also is spoiled. Next life. Indeed, one is advised not even to look at the faces of persons who are irreligious. In fact, in the Sama Nectar it says someone is not wearing Vaishnava tilak. You should not look at his face. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to go and jump into the Ganges or the ocean, if he saw someone with a Vaishnava tilak. And one is advised to not even look at the faces of persons who are really irreligious or without any devotion to the Supreme Lord. Of course, you may say that is what we are daily seeing. Then what to do? The point is, Lord Chaitanya recommended that one should scrupulously renounce the association of unwanted persons. So again, you may say it is not possible because all the time we are surrounded by such people. So the association first happens in the jayate vishayan pumsa, while contemplating on the object of the senses, lust and attachment. So the association happening in the mind. Why that happening? Because the mind doesn't have engagement. If you are not engaged in chanting, the associate reading, hearing, without this protection, if you simply go into the outside world, immediately you grasp that association. The mind grasps that, and that's where it begins. Dhyayato Vishaya. Dhyayata means while contemplating the object, I see something here, smell, taste, and touch something. Immediately, I start thinking about it. That's when the association happens. Like Ajamila was there, he saw the prostitute, but he didn't associate really with that woman, but he was associating with the thoughts about the woman. So that's why we have to fill our thoughts with this Krishna consciousness. That's where begging devotees, please come morning chanting, attend this program, whether you like it or not, you're interested or not. Because this will shield you from all this unwanted and completely take shelter of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Krishna gave Arjuna the same instruction near the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharman, after giving up, just give up everything and surrender unto me. I will take care of you and protect you from all reactions to sinful activities. So, left to ourselves, we will only commit sin because we are in ignorance. So, therefore, Krishna says, Sarvadharman Parityaja. So, on the pretext of doing our dharma, we only do sinful activities. So therefore, Krishna says, you give up all that so called dharma and surrender unto me, which is the highest dharma. Of course, we should be convinced and then give up. Artificially, if you give up, also problem. So then, what is the promise? Krishna says, I'll take care of you and protect you from all reactions to sinful activities. The Lord is very kind to his devotees and he is very grateful, able, and magnanimous. The four qualities of the Lord are listed. He is very kind, grateful. Grateful means little devotion you do, he acknowledges. Able, which means whatever he says, he is able to do it. And magnanimous. There's no limit to what he can do. Therefore, it is our duty to believe his words, and if you are intelligent enough and educated enough. So we also, from our side, we have to believe his words. Secondly, we should be intelligent. Okay, Krishna is seeing this now. How do I apply it in my life? How do I practice this? Because you may say Bhagavad Gita spoken 5,000 years ago, Bhagavatam spoken 5,000 years ago. Now the scenario is different. I am in a different world. The modern world is totally different. So how do you? So that requires intelligence and educated. Educated means we should know the subject. We will follow his instruction without hesitation. If these three things are there, when you believe his words, if you are intelligent and if you are educated, knowledge and realized knowledge, then we will follow his instruction without hesitation. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:48-26, Akrura tells Krishna. When Akrura came to take Krishna and Balram to Mathura, he said, Ka panditasvat aparam sharanam savayat bhakta priya ritagira suhrudak ritagnat sarvan dadati suhrudo bhajato vikhan kaman atmanam upachayapachayannavasya. Who can surrender to anyone other than you? Who is dear, so dear? The first thing Akrura is saying is, there's no point in surrendering to anyone else. You surrender to someone who can really protect, and nobody can protect you. So who can surrender to anyone other than you? Who is so dear? He's not forcing us to surrender to him. Krishna is not forcing Arjuna for his own benefit. He's not saying that. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, if you don't listen to my instructions, you will perish. It's not in a punishing way. So we are not trying to punish devotees. Okay, if you don't attend the class, you'll suffer. That's not. The point is that for their benefit, we feel concerned. Okay, this person, if he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this devotion, he will harm himself. So, in that sense, Krishna says, surrender to me. Why he is telling to surrender out? Because he thinks he is very dear to you. Out of concern for you, he is saying. Who is so truthful? And at the same time, is speaking the truth, not just to get something out of us. He is doing this. His truth. Whatever he says is true. That he is dear to us. Suhridam. And who is so friendly? Suhrid. Who is so grateful? Grateful means little devotion you do. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. He is reciprocating. You are so perfect and complete that even though you give yourself to your devotee, you are still full and perfect. Uh, so, in other words, Krishna becomes the servant of the devotee and he doesn't lose anything. His position doesn't come down. Supposing I have 1,000 rupees and I give you 1,000 rupees, I am deprived of 1,000 rupees. But in the case of God, He can give you unlimitedly, and yet He is always having something with you. You can therefore satisfy all the desires of your devotees and even deliver yourself unto Him. Even he can give bhakti to the devotee, and He can give just like Krishna was always with the Pandavas, and everyone was wanting Krishna's association, but Krishna was always with the Pandavas. A person who is intelligent and able to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness naturally gives up everything and takes shelter only of Krishna. So it's a natural process. Devotion is very natural. But when is it natural? When you become intelligent and you are able to understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. He will take only shelter of Krishna. In this regard, Lord Chaitanya recited a word spoken by Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:223. How can one take shelter of anyone but Krishna? Because whomever you take shelter, they are not our well-wishers. Because especially in Kali Yuga, the people take shelter of someone who will harm them. That is very much prominent now. So we go to the doctor and we think we'll save him, biggest hospital will go. And they will exploit you like anything, and finally you come out dead only. You go to the lawyer, they exploit us. You go to a spiritual person, he also exploits us. You go to the temple, they're exploiting. Go to the college IIT with PhD, we want to get a degree, the guide exploits us. We go to a job, the employer exploits us. So therefore, how can one take shelter of anyone but Krishna? Who else is so kind? Even though Bakasura's sister, Ahobada, the very famous verse is there. Even though Bakasura's sister, Putana, Baki and Baka. Baki is Putana, tried to kill Krishna when he was an infant by applying poison to her breast and offering it to him to suck. Still, that heinous woman received salvation and was elevated to the same platform as his own mother. Although Putana came to poison Krishna because she offered her breast, Krishna accepted her as a nurse or mother. Krishna accepted the poisonous breast of the demoniac woman Putana, and when he sucked the milk, so who is killing Putana is actually the energy of Krishna. Uh, Krishna is by nature, he takes the best in us. So devotees also, we should take the best in us. But what is killing Putana is the energy of Krishna. She cannot tolerate this kind of duplicitous behavior. He sucked out her life also. Nonetheless, Putana was elevated to the same position as Krishna's own mother. For her own benefit, he killed her. There is no essential difference between a fully surrendered soul and a man in the renounced order of life. In other words, sannyas is also not required. So, what is required is whether you are grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, or brahmachari, or brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, the main element is surrender to Krishna. The only difference is that a fully surrendered soul is completely dependent on Krishna. What does surrender mean? We fully become dependent. We give up our independence, so called independence, and become real independence. Real independence is to fully depend on Krishna. There are six qualifications for surrender. The first is that one should accept everything favorable for the discharge of one's duties in devotional service. So whatever is required for my devotional service, I should favorable that I should accept. And for example, we are trying to wake up early in the morning, take a bath, and do some worship, chant some rounds, and then follow four related principles, offer prasad, bhoga, and doing some arti, all this. And one should be determined to accept the process. First, mentally, if you accept, then slowly it will become practical. The second is that one should give up everything that is unfavorable for the discharge of devotion. Anukulyasya and pratikulya. Anukulya means favorable, pratikulya means unfavorable. Varjana. One should be determined to give it all up. Should be convinced and determined and put some effort. The thirdly, one should be convinced that only Krishna can protect him and should have full faith that the Lord will give that protection. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kema Paham. I preserve what you have and provide what you lack. One should be convinced that only Krishna can protect him and have full faith that the Lord will give that protection. So, what is the protection here? Doesn't mean you will not die, you won't get disease, you won't get old age. What here protection is the devotion. Huh? And an impersonalist thinks that his actual identity is in being one with Krishna. But a devotee does not destroy his identity in this way. He lives with full faith that Krishna will kindly protect him in all respects. The impersonalist, he thinks I will do devotion, ultimately I don't have to do devotion. But the devotee, he understands that my eternal position is to always be a devotee, and if I continue to do my devotion, Krishna will always protect me. That's the agreement. The impersonalist, he'll think I will take shelter of God for some time till I become God. Then I don't need God anymore. I don't need the Guru anymore. So, fourthly, a devotee should always accept Krishna as his maintainer. Okay, Krishna will protect me in danger. What about when there is no danger? Can I relax my devotion? Now, no problem. Everything is sorted out. So now I can need not be so serious about devotion. No, a devotee should always accept that Krishna as his maintainer. Even when things are going smoothly, I should understand that it is Krishna's mercy. Krishna is the one who's helping me to run smoothly. Those are interested in the fruits of activities generally expect protection from the demigods, but the devotee of Krishna does not look to any demigod for protection. So you may say, I am not a demigod worshipper. I'm only worshiping Krishna. But the problem is, apart from Krishna, we have faith in so many other things, uh, like other people. And we think maybe Krishna cannot protect, this devotion cannot protect me. These other people can save me. uh. He is fully convinced that Krishna will protect him from all kinds of unfavorable conditions. What are the unfavorable conditions for the obstacles for our devotion? Those are the most unfavorable. Even materially, some unfavorable condition is there. You can see somehow overcome that. But the most unfavorable condition is the impediments to a devotion. See, fifthly, a devotee is always conscious that he is not independent in fulfilling his desires. So, any desire I have, I should be convinced that I cannot fulfill it without Krishna's sanction. So that conviction one should have. If my desire is fulfilled, I should thank Krishna. If my desire is not fulfilled, also I should thank Krishna because Krishna has some other plan. Unless Krishna fulfills them, they cannot be fulfilled. In the Krishna book, we see that someone tried to bypass Krishna and take shelter of someone else, and but then nothing worked out. Lastly, one should always think of himself as most fallen, so that Krishna will take care of him. So why we should think that we are most fallen, so that we will always remember Krishna. Otherwise, we'll think, okay, I'm not so fallen. Maybe the fallen person will take surrender of Krishna. Somehow I can protect myself. Uh, so this is known as meek and obedient, humble.
Such a surrendered soul should take shelter of a holy place like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, or Mayapur, and should surrender himself unto the Lord, saying, My Lord, from today I am yours. You can protect me or kill me as you like. When a devotee takes shelter of Krishna in such a way, Krishna is so grateful that he accepts him and gives him all kinds of protection. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:29-34. where it is said that if a person who is about to die takes full shelter of the Supreme Lord and places himself fully under his care, he actually attains immortality at that time and becomes eligible to associate with the Supreme Lord and enjoy transcendental bliss.
So here it says a surrender. So once if you practice these 6 items of surrender, then what is favorable to that? 5 things are very favorable. One is chanting the holy name, then reading Bhagavatam, associating with the devotees, worshipping the deity, as we see Pankajanga Prabhu. He had all these 5, and he was residing in the Dham. So, particularly this residing in a holy place. So, what does holy place mean? Actually, association. We are looking for association in the holy place, not simply go and take bath in the holy place or visit all the temples, take the prasad. Okay, that's also good, but the main thing is devotee association in the holy place, like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, or Mayapur. You can protect me or kill me as you like. Rakobi, Marobi. Rakobi means protect me, Marobi means kill me. Actually, Krishna will not kill, but his mood is like that. Krishna is so grateful. Immediately, Krishna reciprocates with your mood and accepts him, gives him all kinds of protection. Krishna is Bhavagrahi. He is very quick to grasp our uh, feelings. A person who is about to die takes full shelter of Supreme Lord and places himself fully under his care. He actually attains immortality at that time. Just like we see in the case of the passing away of these great devotees, they are taking full shelter of the Supreme Lord. So, from external point of view, we may think, okay, devotees also suffering like everyone, and they pray to him that he will live, come back, but nothing happened. So, but that is wrong understanding. He becomes eligible to associate with the Supreme Lord and enjoy transcendental bliss. So this is very important. Becomes eligible to associate with the Supreme Lord and enjoy it. You may, just like you get a visa or a passport, it doesn't mean the next day you travel. Got the visa, a 10-year visa is there. In the 10 years, whenever you want, you can travel. So he has got the eligibility. Then Krishna will gradually make the arrangement for him to go to the spiritual world.
The Lord then explained to Sanatan Goswami the various types and symptoms of practical devotional service. When devotional service is performed with our present senses, it is called practical devotional service. Actually, devotional service is the eternal life of the living entity and is lying dormant in everyone's heart. The practice which involves that dormant devotional service is called practical devotional service. The practice that invokes that dormant devotional service is called practical devotional service. The purport is that the living entity is constitutionally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The Lord can be compared to the sun, and the living entities can be compared to molecules of sunshine. Under the spell of the illusory energy, the spiritual spark is almost extinguished, but by practical devotional service, one can revive his natural constitutional position. When one practices such devotional service, it should be understood that he is returning to his original and normal liberated position. Practical devotional service can be performed with one's senses under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master.
So this paragraph is emphasizing that we have to be practical in devotion also. Just like you are practical in your day-to-day life, devotion also you should be practical means you should implement these things in practice. So how do you engage in practice? Through engaging our senses. We are seeing something, smelling, tasting, touching, hands, legs, reproductive system, all this tongue. So in the 64 items of devotional service, they are engaging the body, mind, and the senses. So this devotion is concerned, it is dormant in the heart. Just like the fire is there, it is there in the wood. Hmm? Because fire, the Panchbhutas, they are in all the elements. But predominantly, maybe some element may be predominant in one object and less. Similarly, in wood also there is fire inside. But when the wood is brought in contact with the 100% fire, then this the little fire which is there in the wood, that also manifests itself. Similarly, the practice which invokes that dormant devotional service is called practical devotional service. In other words, unless you engage in this practical devotional service, the so-called devotion which is there in the heart, it will not come out. Hmm. Some people will say, if you come to the temple, they will say, no, no, I am always thinking about the Lord in my heart. Uh, But if you say chant, they will say, I am chanting in my heart. Uh, So if you say, please offer some food, okay, mentally I am offering. So like this, always if you say come to Dham, they will say mentally I am traveling to Dham. So this is actually at the very high level you can do mental devotional service. Right now our mind is not controlled. So we have to do with our senses from starting from the down. So the living entity is constitutionally part and parcel of Supreme Lord. The analogy is given of a part of fire and the fire. There's a big fire, it cannot be extinguished. The small fire, although it has the properties of the original fire, that is heat and light, the moment it comes out of the fire, it loses getting extinguished. Therefore, the small fire should always be in contact with the big fire. So similarly, this practical devotional service will keep us in contact with the Supreme Lord. For that, how to engage the senses? We need guidance of the spiritual master. One begins spiritual activities for advancement in devotional service of Krishna consciousness by hearing. So first thing is we have to engage the sense of hearing, Shravana. Indeed, hearing is the most important method for advancement in Krishna consciousness. That's why sometimes even chanting also is very difficult. The morning we are doing the chanting session, we are putting Prabhupada tape. Of course, we have to hear our chanting, that's the main thing. But to come to that level, we need some motivation. So we hear the Prabhupada lectures or Prabhupada tapes. Indeed, hearing is the most important method for advancement in Krishna consciousness. One should be very eager to hear favorably about Krishna. So, what do we hear about Krishna? There are so many things about Krishna in different Puranas, but there Krishna is not the focus. Only in the Bhagavad Purana or the Bhagavad Gita, it is Krishna giving up all speculation and fruitive activity, the karma process, jnana process. One should simply worship Krishna and desire to attain love of God. So, worshipping Krishna means doing as Krishna directed us. That love of God is eternally existing within everyone. It simply has to be evoked by the process of hearing. Hearing and chanting are the principal methods of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Devotional service may be regulative or affectionate. Regulative means sadhana bhakti or raganuga bhakti.
One who has not developed transcendental affection for Krishna should conduct his life according to scriptural injunctions and under the guidance of the spiritual master. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukdev Goswami advises Maharaj Parikshit, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishwar Hari Shrotavya Kirtanasya Cha.
श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च स्मर्तव्यश्चेत् भयम्.
O best of the Bharatas, it is the prime duty of persons who want to become fearless to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, and to chant about him and always remember him. Lord Vishnu is always to be remembered and is not to be forgotten for even a moment. This is the sum and substance of all regulative principles. The conclusion is that when all rules, regulations, and recommended and prohibited activities in the revealed scriptures are taken together, remembrance of the Supreme Lord is always the essence of everything. To always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead within one's heart is the main practice of devotional service, and in that practice, there are no regulative principles, there are no do's and don'ts.
Yeah, so here it's talking about different stages in devotion. One is the sadhana bhakti, where we are doing devotion because it is mentioned in the scriptures. Someone is telling, okay, in this book it is said like this, so we do. Because as of now, our attraction is not spontaneous. We don't come across devotees who are in spontaneous devotion. So we have to, devotion service may be regulative or affectionate. One who has not developed transcendental affection for Krishna should conduct his life according to scriptural injunctions under the guidance of the spiritual master. So, prime duty of persons who want to become fearless. Because of fear, we are doing so many mistakes. Actually, people are planning so many things. Okay, I will do like this, I will get this thing. But all the time they are fearful. And because of that fear, although they know what is the right thing to do, they do mistakes. So the person who want to become fearless, the prime duty is to hear about the Supreme Personality of God, Hari. So unless you hear about Krishna, you cannot become fearless. Abhayacharan. And to hear about him and chant about him. It's not just if you hear, you have to preach also. If you can't preach to anyone, at least you preach to yourself by reading loudly or reading to your family, friends. So chant about him and always remember him. How can you always remember him when you practice these instructions? By hearing, chanting, and remembering. Lord Vishnu is always to be remembered, and that is not forgotten even and not so. Always remember Krishna, not forget Krishna. So, in other words, what is favorable to remember in Krishna that we should do? What is not favorable to remember in Krishna that we should avoid? And so, to always remember the Supreme Personality Godhead is the main practice of devotional service, and in that practice, there are no regulative principles. In other words, what it means is, although we're telling the four regulative principles are there, when it comes to remembering Krishna, there is no regulative principle. No, you have to remember Krishna only now. You should not think about Krishna right now. Huh? Sometimes our parents are telling our young students, okay, now you don't have to remember this Krishna all the time. Sometimes it's okay. But no, the point is when it comes to remembering Krishna, there's no regulation. Only now you can remember. Like go to the toilet, you cannot remember. Yes, some you go to the burial ground, you cannot remember. No. In any whether it is unfavorable situation or favorable situation, you should try to remember Krishna.
However, one should generally accept the following principles to properly execute devotional service. The devotee should 1. Take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, 2. Receive initiation from the spiritual master, 3. Serve the spiritual master, 4. Inquire and learn love from the spiritual master, 5. Follow in the footsteps of holy persons devoted to the transcendental loving service of the Lord, 6. Be prepared to give up all kinds of enjoyment and suffer all kinds of miseries for the satisfaction of Krishna. 7. Live in a place where Krishna had his pastimes. 8. Be satisfied by whatever is sent by Krishna for the maintenance of the body and not hanker for more than that. 9. Observe fasting on Ekadashi day. This occurs on the 11th day of the full moon and the 11th day after the new moon. On such days, no grains, cereals, or beans are eaten. Simply vegetables and milk are moderately taken, and the chanting of Hare Krishna and reading of scriptures are increased. And 10. Show respect to devotees, cows, and sacred trees like the banyan tree.
Yeah, so here is listing about the 64 items, 10 favorable, 10 unfavorable, like that. Huh? These are the 10 things favorable. Among these, so generally, if you take the Krishna Sadhaka, Siksha level, they ask these questions. So among that, what is the most important? First three are very important. Number one is take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And you may say, no, I'm not ready. At least you take shelter of Prabhupada. Hmm? Because a bona fide spiritual master. So that's why we say read Prabhupada book. So taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, then receive initiation from spiritual master. What is receiving initiation? You commit yourself to chanting and following these principles or the process, practical process. That's known as bhajana kriya. And serve the spiritual master. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. And inquire and learn love from the spiritual master. These four things. If you these are first three are very important: taking shelter, taking initiation, and serving. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Then further all these things are listed.
It is essential for a neophyte devotee who is beginning to follow the path of devotional service to observe these 10 principles. The 11th principle is to try to avoid offenses in serving the Lord and in chanting the holy names. There are 10 kinds of offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name. 1. To blaspheme the devotee of the Lord. 2. To consider the Lord and the demigods On the same level, or to think there are many gods. 3. To neglect the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To minimize the authority of the scriptures of the Vedas. 5. To interpret the holy names of God. 6. To commit sins on the strength of chanting. 7. To instruct the glories of the Lord's names to the unfaithful. 8. To compare the chanting of the holy name to material piety. 9. To be inattentive while chanting the holy name. And 10. To remain attached in material things in spite of chanting the holy names. These 10 offenses against the holy name should be avoided.
Yeah, so slight difference is there between these 10 offenses and what we read in the morning. But that's okay. So Prabhupada at different points of time in the development of ISKCON, originally he gave one list and then in the books some list is there. But you see Bhaktivinoda Thakur he has followed a different order. So but in any case, these offenses should be avoided. Next.
The 12th principle in the execution of devotional service is that one should avoid the association of unholy non devotees. 13. One should not attempt to have many disciples. 14. One should not take the trouble to understand many books or to understand partially any particular book, and one should avoid discussing different doctrines. 15. One should be equipoised to both in gain and in loss. 16. One should not be subject to any kind of lamentation. 17. One should not disrespect the demigods or other scriptures. 18. One should not tolerate blasphemy against the Supreme Lord or his devotees. 19. One should avoid ordinary topics of novels and fiction, but there is no injunction that one should avoid hearing ordinary news. 20. One should not give any trouble to any living creature, even a small bug.
So further it tells about how that we should associate with devotees and not do not associate non-devotees. And it says here do not have many disciples, especially when you cannot direct them properly. Hmm. Uh, one time, one sense, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says you deliver the whole world, which means you have to accept disciples. At the same time, he says here not to accept many disciples. So proportionate to your qualification, as decided by your guru, you can accept. That's why, when, for example, Jayapataka Maharaj, he was told by Prabhupada specifically to accept 50,000 disciples. But we have some Prabhupada disciples who accept very few disciples. So that is up to that individual and the instruction they received from their spiritual master. And at the same time, we have to read books. And for some people, it says don't read too many books. So what happens? Some people read too many books and miss the essential point. And for some people, it is required to read more books. So everything is guided. And so these other things are the equipasting gain and loss, not subject to any kind of lamentation. And we should not disrespect the demigods or other scriptures. And we should not tolerate blasphemy of the Lord of the devotees. And here one should avoid ordinary topics of novels and fiction, but there is no injunction that one should avoid hearing ordinary news. Some little information about the world you should know. For example, the COVID pandemic. You should be aware that okay, there's lockdown and there's the lockdown restrictions. This COVID infection is spreading like this. How to safeguard? All the news also is nothing harm in that. Just because we are devotees, we cannot say I don't care about all this outside news. Some little information is okay, and one should not give any trouble to any living creature, even a small bug.
The first 10 of the 20 items mentioned above are affirmative, and the second 10 are prohibitive. In the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami, it is said that one should be very liberal in behavior and should avoid any undesirable activities. Of the 20 regulations, the most important are the first three: to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, be initiated by him, and serve him.
So first 20 are divided into Vidhi and Nisheth. Vidhi means what to do, and Nisheth means what one should not do. Among the list of things which one should do, three things are important, as I told before. Accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, be initiated by him, and serve.
In addition to these 20, there are 35 more items of devotional service, and they can be analyzed as follows: 1. Hearing about the Lord; 2. Chanting about Him; 3. Remembering Him; 4. Worshipping Him; 5. Praying to him. 6. Serving him. 7. Engaged as his servitor. 8. Being friendly towards him. 9. Offering everything to him. 10. Dancing before the deity. 11. Singing before the deity. 12. Informing the deity of one's thoughts. 13. Offering obeisances to the deity. 14. Standing up to show respect to the deity and the devotees. 15. Following a devotee when he gets up to go to the door. 16. Entering the temple of the Lord. 17. Circumambulating the temple of the Lord. 18. Reciting prayers to the Lord. 19. Vibrating hymns in his honor. 20. Performing Sankirtan or congregational chanting of the holy name. 21. Smelling the incense and flowers offered to the deity. 22. Accepting prasadam, food offered to Krishna. 23. Attending the Aarti ceremony. 24. Seeing the deity. 25. Offering palatable foodstuffs to the Lord. 26. Meditating on the Lord. 27. Offering water to the Tulsi tree. 28. Offering respect to the Vaishnavas or advanced devotees. 29. Living in Mathura or Vrindavan. 30. Understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. 31. Trying one's utmost to attain Krishna. 32. Expecting the mercy of Krishna. 33. Joining the devotees in performing Krishna's ceremonial functions. 34. Surrendering to the Lord in all respects. 35. Observing different ceremonial functions and vows.
More or less everything is clear. The first 9 are the 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Pujanam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam, like that. Uh, Dasyam, all these things. Then dancing, singing, uh, revealing our thoughts to the deity, offering obeisances, uh, standing up in front of devotees and accompanying the devotees, going inside the temple, circumambulating temple. Sometimes the temples don't have parikrama path, but some provision you can do, and reciting prayers, vibrating hymns like Brahma Samhita, and then doing Sankirtana, congregation chanting, smelling the flowers, accepting prasada, attending Arati, the deity darshan, then offering food. Some things are repeated, and meditating, then offering water to Tulsi, then offering obeisances to the devotees, residing in Mathura, Vrindavan, reading Bhagavatam, and trying our best to serve Krishna. And, always depend on the mercy of Krishna, and uh, take part in festivals and ceremonies, surrendering to Lord in all respects, like this. Next.
To these 35 items are added another 4. 1. Marking one's body with sandalwood pulp to show that one is a Vaishnava. 2. Painting one's body with the holy names of the Lord. 3. Covering one's body with the remnants of the deity's coverings. 4. Sipping Charnamrit, the water that has washed the deity. These 4 additional items make 39 items for devotional service in all. And out of all of these, the following 5 are most important. 1. To associate with devotees. 2. To chant the holy name of the Lord. 3. To hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4. To live in a holy place such as Mathura, Vrindavan. 5. To serve the deity with great devotion. These items are especially mentioned by Rupa Goswami in his book Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. The 39 items above, plus these 5 items, totally 44 items. Add to these the 20 preliminary items, and there are a total of 64 items for conducting devotional service. The devotional service of one who adopts these 64 items with his body, mind, and senses gradually becomes pure. Some of these items are completely distinct from others, and some are identical, and others appear to be mixed.
So here about applying tilak to the body, and then painting the body with the holy names. That some devotees, we don't do it much in ISKCON, but covering one's body with the remnants of deity coverings. To like for example, deity, uh, they use some cloth uh, that is given as prasad, and taking charnamrita, very important. And especially during festivals and day to day basis. Then there are the five potent forms of devotion. One is associating with the devotees, chanting the holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, living in a holy place, and worshipping the deity. These are the five most potent. And so first 20, then 10 plus 10 plus 35 plus 4 plus 5. All this is equal to 64, and this involves body, mind, and senses. Some are distinct, some are mixed, and some are similar.
Srila Rupa Goswami has recommended that one live in the association of those who are of the same mentality. Therefore, it is necessary to form some association for Krishna consciousness and live together for the cultivation of knowledge of Krishna and devotional service. The most important item for living in that association is the mutual understanding of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. When faith and devotion are developed, they become transformed into the worship of the deity, chanting of the holy name, and living in a holy place like Mathura and Vrindavan.
So, although we said five items, potent forms, some people go to the extreme. What they do, they simply sit chant. Hmm? They will say, I don't want the other four. I simply chant. Or they're all the time in deity temple, deity worship. Or they're always trying to associate with great advanced devotees. Or always reading Bhagavatam. Huh? So, or simply trying to live in the whole, just let us go and settle down in Mayapur, Vrindavan. So, but that is also sometimes can become a problem. So therefore, here it says, it is necessary to form some association for Krishna consciousness and live together for the cultivation of. Yet the most important, those live in the association of those who are of the same mentality. Which means you cannot artificially try to associate with the advanced devotee or live in the advanced dham, go to the topmost study of the books. According to your level right now, what is best? That is also the type of association you require right now. That also you should. That's why we have three types of association. One is we have advanced devotees. You have some association. We associate devotees on our level, and we also try to help people who are not on that level. So these three types of association are also required. So here it says mutual understanding of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Mutual understanding. That's why we are discussing the Bhagavad Gita. And it's not that always you hear lectures from very advanced devotees and you don't discuss it with others. You should discuss it. We see Pankajang Prabhu and Janadivas Prabhu, very good quality I have seen is whoever is giving Bhagavatam class, they will come and attend that class. They won't say, okay, very high devotee is giving, so I will attend. Ordinary devotees giving class, so I will not attend. Whenever you go to Mayapur, you see who are even Matajis are giving Bhagavatam class. They are person very young, is giving. They come and sit in the class. Uh, so that is very important here. When faith and devotion are developed, they become transformed into the worshipping deity, chanting, living in the holy place. So first we have to develop the faith and devotion. Then these five things will be very powerful. Without faith and devotion, you simply try to do this straight away, jump to this five potent forms. Then there will be no transformation of the heart.
The last five items mentioned after the first 39 are very important and essential. If one can simply discharge these five items, he can be elevated to the highest perfectional stage, even if he does not execute them perfectly. One may be able to perform one item or many items according to one's capacity, but it is the principal factor of complete attachment to devotional service that makes one advance on the path. Some devotees in history, the Maharaj, like Maharaj Ambarish, attained perfection in devotional service by executing all of the items of devotional service, while many others attained perfection by discharging the duties of only one item. Some of them are Maharaj Parikshit, who was liberated and fully perfected simply by hearing. Shukdev Goswami, who became liberated and attained perfection in devotional service simply by chanting. Prahlad Maharaj, who attained perfection by remembering. Lakshmi, who attained perfection by serving the lotus feet of the Lord. King Prithu, who attained perfection simply by worshipping. Akrur, who attained perfection simply by praying. Hanuman, who attained perfection simply by becoming the servitor of Lord Ram. Arjun, who attained perfection simply by being a friend of Krishna's. And Bali Maharaj, who attained perfection simply by offering whatever he had in his possession.
So now the point is not that we try to become like this devotees. Hmm? The principle is the what are the principles? Those we have to grasp according to our capacity. That's why it says is the principal factor of complete attachment. What will make us attached to devotional service more? For some person, it may be hearing, some person may be chanting, some person may be deity worship, some person may be remembering. So that we have to take the advice of the spiritual master and judge. We use our intelligence and knowledge and try to fix ourselves in something somehow or other. And here, one important point is Prithu Maharaja. Prithu Maharaja, he said it's important for worship. What worship he did? He utilized all the resources the earth was producing. The earth was not producing some things. So he made the earth produce something, and those he engaged in the service of the Lord. So worship doesn't mean you simply do deity worship. Whatever resources God has given you, if you are utilizing it, that's also worship. As a king, he had all the resources and he utilized them.
As mentioned above, Maharaj Ambarish performed all the items of devotional service. He first of all engaged his mind by fixing it on the lotus feet of Krishna. He engaged his words, his power of speaking, in describing the transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He engaged his hands in washing the temple of the deity, his ears in hearing the words of Krishna, his eyes in beholding the deity. He engaged his sense of touch by rendering service to the devotees, and he engaged his sense of smell by relishing the fragrance of the flowers offered to Krishna. He engaged his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, his legs in going to the temple of Krishna, and his head in offering obeisances to the deity of Krishna. Because all his desires and ambitions were thus engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, Maharaj Ambarish is considered the leader in discharging devotional service in all kinds of ways.
So 25 years back, when I read this book, this paragraph I memorized, and I used to always think whether I'm doing all this. So uh, how one can engage all things.
Whoever engages in the devotional service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness becomes freed of all debts to the sages, demigods, and forefathers, to whom everyone is generally indebted. This is confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam. They
They
were
देवर्षि भूताप्त नृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करोणायं वृणी च राजन् सर्वात्मनाय शरणं शरण्यं ततो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्.
Whoever fully engages himself in the service of the Lord, O King, giving up all other duties, is no longer indebted to the demigods, the sages, other living entities, his relatives, the forefathers, or any man. Every man, just after his birth, is at once indebted to all the above mentioned personalities, and one is expected to discharge many kinds of ritualistic functions because of this indebtedness. But a person who is fully surrendered unto Krishna has no obligation. He becomes free from all debts.
So this is very important. We see our Pankajang Prabhu, he belonged to a family of 10 children. 10 which is including those twins, and after that they had one daughter also. So whenever opportunity arose, they went and met their family members. In fact, in the memorial, which was held 2 days back, his family members and the extended family also, his brothers' children, they shared their memories with him, and they also offered their homage. So what it is, we are all the time we are indebted to so many people, and those debt is pulling us in different ways. No? We are indebted to the sages, demigods, because so many lifetimes we have lived, and we have to fulfill those obligations, and we are not able to fulfill that. So what we can do, of course, we can do our best to do that. It's not that simply you surrender to Krishna and forget about all this. We can also do them, but we should understand that if something is not possible to fulfill this obligation, then the main shelter is to Krishna. And,
It should be carefully noted, however, that when a person gives up all other duties and simply takes to the transcendental service of Krishna, he has no material desire and is not apt to perform sinful activities. If, however, he performs sinful activities not willfully but by chance, Krishna gives him all protection. It is not necessary for him to purify himself by any other method. And this is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:542. A devotee who is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is protected by the Supreme Person. But in case such a devotee unintentionally commits some sinful activity or is obliged to act sinfully under certain circumstances, God, situated within his heart, gives him all protection.
So one may say, okay, I did devotion very nicely. Suddenly one day something happened. So I think I'm not qualified for devotion. And again it happens. Like that, more and more time you're doing mistake. Then you think this devotion is not for me. Because they told me if I do devotion, I'll become perfect, but I'm still so imperfect. So something is wrong with me, if not with the devotion. So like this, we speculate so many things. Therefore, Krishna is saying that he will. It's not necessary for him to. It doesn't mean because you're failing in devotion that you should do something else. Sometimes devotees have this mindset, okay, I'm doing devotion, but still some problems are coming, so let me do something else. Let me go to the astrologer, let me do this, do that. Huh? So that kind of deviation you should not do. Of course, intentional sins that we should minimize, but even if something beyond control happens, but you should still take shelter, even if you're committing offenses to the holy name. So you should not think, okay, I'm doing offensive chanting, so better not chant. So, or I'm coming to the temple, and because of coming to the temple, I'm offending devotees, so let me not go to the temple. Uh, so this kind is not. Krishna is tolerating that. So you should be conscious of that I'm doing mistake, but at the same time, you should try to improve step by step.
The process of speculative knowledge and renunciation are not chief items for elevation in devotional service. One does not have to take to the principles of non-violence and sense control, although there are rules and regulations for acquiring these qualities in other processes. Without even practicing these processes, a devotee develops all good qualities simply by discharging devotional service to the Lord. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-31, the Lord Himself says that there is no necessity of cultivating speculative knowledge and renunciation if one is actually engaged in the devotional service of the Lord.
In other words, jnana and vairagya is not required for performing bhakti. By doing bhakti, automatically this jnana and vairagya will come. Also in the Bhagavad Gita, yesterday we saw 13th chapter, Krishna is talking about the 20 items of knowledge. And the main element is surrender to the Lord. And this 26 qualities of Vaishnava also main element is devotion to the Lord.
Out of sheer misunderstanding, some transcendentalists think that knowledge and renunciation are necessary, but rising rising to the platform of devotional service.
For rising.
But for rising to the platform of devotional service, this is not so. The cultivation of knowledge and the renunciation of fruitive activities may be necessary for understanding one's spiritual existence in relation to the material conception of life, but they are not part and parcel of devotional service. The results of knowledge and fruitive activities are liberation and material sense gratification, respectively. Therefore, they cannot be part and parcel of devotional service. Rather, they have no intrinsic value in the discharge of devotional service. One who is freed from bondage to the results of knowledge and fruitive activities can be situated in devotional service. Since a devotee of Lord Krishna is by nature non-violent, and since his mind and senses are controlled, he does not have to make a special effort to acquire the good qualities which result from cultivating knowledge and performing fruitive activities.
So we should not go to the extreme of cultivating too much knowledge or too much renunciation. What knowledge, whatever renunciation, that much is conducive to devotion. Our main focus should be devotion, under the guidance of the devotees.
When Uddhav was questioning Krishna about the rules and regulations according to Vedic injunctions, he asked, why is it that the Vedic hymns encourage one in material enjoyment, while at the same time the Vedic instructions also free one from all illusion and encourage one toward liberation? The Vedic rules are said to be ordained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But apparently, there are contradictions, and Uddhav was anxious to know how one could resolve these contradictions. In reply, Lord Krishna cited the verse mentioned above, informing him of the super excellence of devotional service. For one who is already engaged in devotional service to me and whose mind is fixed on me, it is neither practical nor necessary to cultivate knowledge and renunciation.
Just like in the Bhagavad Gita, we have first 6 chapters on Karma Yoga. because some people like that only. They get interested in Karma Yoga. The last six chapters are Jnana Yoga because some people are interested in that part. But those two are meant to lead to the middle six chapters, which are Bhakti Yoga. So, uh, so we have to see the essence of the Vedas and follow that, and not go to any extremes.
Thus, the Lord's conclusion is that devotional service is independent of any other process. The cultivation of knowledge, renunciation, or meditation may be a little helpful in the beginning, but they cannot be considered necessary for discharging devotional service. In other words, devotional service can be discharged independently of the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation. In this regard, there is also a verse from the Skanda Puran in which Narad Muni tells a hunter tribesman, O hunter, the qualifications you have just now acquired, such as non-violence and others, are not astonishing because one who is engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Lord cannot be a source of trouble for anyone under any circumstance.
So when you cultivate devotion, automatically you will come to know, okay, this knowledge I should have. For example, as a devotee, you should know something practical things in the day-to-day world also. So as and when required, you can do it. Like Tamal Krishna Maharaj, after he was a guru, GBC, sannyasi, he did PhD. So he felt the need for it and he did that. Cultivation of knowledge and some things you may have to accept and reject. So all that comes if you keep devotion as the focus. So here Narada Muni and Parvata Muni, they met actually Narada Muni met one hunter, Mrigari, and he was taking pleasure in killing animals half dead. He would enjoy seeing the animal suffering in pain. So Narada Muni came and told him, do you know the result of this sinful activity? You'll have to suffer for lifetimes. And because he heard this fact from Narada Muni, he came to his senses. And he said, what should I do? Then Narada Muni told, you should give up killing. So he said, how can I do that? This is how I've been trained my whole life. My own family, ancestors, they have been killing. And so then Narada Muni said, don't worry, you break your vow. I will arrange for your food. And what should I do? He said, you have to worship Tulsi and chant the names. So then he started doing like that. And Narada Muni went his way. And as Narada Muni had told, this devotee was doing his devotion, and all the villagers became compassionate for him. And they started offering him different food. So, so then once when Narada Muni came along with his friend Parvata Muni, this Mrigari, he saw his guru is coming and he wanted to offer obeisances. But when he tried to do so, he saw some ants are going on the ground and he was hesitating to offer obeisances. And then Narada Muni, when he comes closer, Parvata Muni, Narada Muni asked him, why were you hesitating to offer obeisances? So he told that, God, I wanted to offer obeisances, but I saw some ants are lying on the ground. So then Parvata Muni said that Narada Muni, you are a touchstone. How you could transform a hunter into a great Vaishnava. So this Nagari, within a very short time, he attained Baba and Prema. Stop here. Thank you for your participation. Some two questions are there. I think I'll take that. So, it is not possible to associate all the time. How to prevent our fall down? Yeah. So as I said, association in the mind first. Hmm. So that is more even you may be physically in the association of devotees and you may be thinking about something else. So that is why you have to prepare yourself for associating with devotees. Some preparation you should do. Just like if you're going for some seminar or conference, just like that, you don't go and sit there. You do some basic preparation. Like that, to associate devotees also some preparation if you do, like chanting, reading, hearing, worshipping. Then when we get that little association with devotees, that remains in our mind. Just like non-devotees also, we are associating most of the time, and we carry those impressions with us. Similarly, if you carry the impressions of associating with a devotee, that will balance it or at least overpower this other association. So that's why now online we are doing all these classes. There are many ways to associate with devotees, even if not physically. Huh? And so that's why you have to take advantage of that, whatever little possible. Okay, Paresh Prabhu was asked to do Narsimha prayer after the class. have just 4 minutes. We'll do that in the end session. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Radharayane. Prahlada Radharayane. Hiranyakashipu Purvakaha. Hiranyakashipu Purvakaha. Jai Jagadish Hari, Jai Jagadish Hari, Jai Jagadish Hari. Kamakara Kamadavari Nakam Adbhuta Shlingam Danita Hiranyakasipu Tanudrinam Nikavadruta Harirupa Jai Jagadish Hari, Jai Jagadish Hari, Jai Jagadish Hari. Hare Krishna. So take care of the pandemic is exploding like anything. Please take extreme care. We have all the information compared to the previous things. Act fast whenever any problem.
Madan Prabhu, how is your health now? Can you unmute and also show yourself video?
Can you speak something?
What about Shweta? How is your health now?
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
हरे कृष्णा, कैसी है?
मैं ठीक हूँ माता जी, आप लोग कैसे हो?
We are all okay. अभी तेरी खांसी कैसी है?
माता जी मेरी खांसी बिल्कुल ठीक है, मतलब 90% तक बिल्कुल ठीक है।
इतना घर जाने से सब ठीक हो गया?
हाँ 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 जी।
You take care, Shweta, and if possible, come for morning chanting.
हाँ जी माता जी, ठीक है।
Mata, we are not able to see you.
Shweta, can you please switch on your video?
I'm asking you, Rashmi Mata. Rather
Hey,
Rashmi.
मुझे देख के क्या करेगा? सुबह से मुंह तक नहीं खोलते। अभी दिख रहा है क्या?
हरि हरि बोल, हरि हरि
हरे
बोल।
कृष्णा, हरे कृष्णा।